Hey everyone, and welcome back.
Yeah.
We're diving into a topic that's seriously going to blow your mind. Disruptive technology.
Mm.
And guess what? You guessed it. A huge shout out to all our awesome viewers. You guys are the reason we keep doing this. And you know who else deserves a shout out?
I do.
No. Teacher Ricky.
Of
You
course.
know it, guys. Big thanks to Teacher Ricky for the suggestion. Love the channel. Be sure to like, share, and subscribe to their channel. All right. You won't regret it.
It's a fascinating topic, and one that can really make you feel like you have a superpower once you sort of get it. We're going to be using Clayton Christensen's book, The Innovator's Dilemma, as our guide today.
Okay, The Innovator's Dilemma. So this book, man, this book was huge EE when it came out. It really changed how businesses thought about innovation, right?
Hmm.
But here's the thing. Even the most innovative companies in the world can get totally blindsided by technologies that just seem, I don't know, kind of lame at first.
Yeah, that's exactly it. That's the core of Christensen's argument. It's like companies get so good at listening to their best customers and giving them exactly what they want that they totally miss the boat on innovations that might seem unimportant, at least at first.
It's like Sears completely missing out on the rise of discount retailers. Or IBM, they kind of stumbled when personal computers came along. Like, they're almost too successful to see the change coming. Does that make sense?
Exactly. And Christensen gives us this framework of sustaining versus disruptive technologies to understand why that happens, why these companies miss these big changes.
Okay, so break it down for us. What's the difference? Because I know, I've definitely been guilty of thinking, well, that new gadget is cool and all, but, my old one works just fine.
That's actually a perfect example of how sustaining technologies work. They take something good, something that works, and they make it even better in ways that existing customers already care about. It's like your phone, right? Each new model is a little faster, has a slightly better camera, but it's basically the same device.
Okay, I see. I'm starting to get the difference. So disruptive technologies, those are the real game changers, right? The ones that come out of left field.
Think of it this way. Disruptive technologies, they often start out simpler, cheaper, and they usually appeal to like a niche market that the big players don't even notice. Like, remember when those early personal computers first came out? I mean, they just seemed like toys compared to the giant mainframes that all the businesses were using.
Ah, okay. I see where you're going with this. So the established companies, they didn't even see the threat because they were too busy catering to their most demanding and profitable clients.
Mm.
Right? I mean, those clients didn't want those clunky little PCs.
Exactly. And the innovator's dilemma, it has some really interesting examples of how this all played out in different industries, like hard drives. As technology got better, they got smaller and cheaper, which
Yeah.
was perfect for these little personal computers. But mainframe computer makers, they only cared about one thing: storage capacity, size. Didn't matter to them. And they missed a major, major shift.
Okay, yeah. I'm starting to see why Teacher Ricky wanted us to really dig deep into this. There's like a real lesson here about not just sticking with what you know, right?
Absolutely. The book also talks about mechanical excavators. You wouldn't think those would be revolutionary, but those small hydraulic excavators, they found a niche, smaller construction projects, and then boom, they gradually got better and better until they were challenging the big cable-actuated excavators, the ones that everyone thought were the best.
So it's not always about some crazy, futuristic, super flashy technology. It's about recognizing that even something that seems kind of inferior can take over if it finds the right market and it keeps improving.
That's it. That's a key takeaway. And it applies to way more than just excavators, by the way. Christensen also looks at the steel industry. Minimills, they started by making, lower quality steel, but they targeted a specific market rebar, and then they moved up market. Eventually, they were challenging the giant integrated steel mills.
Wow, that's incredible. These examples are really bringing the concept to life. So this whole disruptive technology thing, it's not just some abstract business school idea. It's happening all around us. But how do we, the everyday people, learn to spot it? What do we need to do?
Ah, that's the million-dollar question. And luckily, the Innovator's Dilemma gives us some great insights on exactly that. We'll dive into those after a quick pill.
Hold on. Don't even say it. We're on a roll here. Let's keep unpacking this. What's the first thing we should be looking for? We want to be disruption detectives, right? How do we do it?
All right, you want to be disruption detectives. I love it. Okay, so the first clue. You got to look beyond the mainstream. You can't just focus on the big, flashy technologies that everyone's already talking about. You know what I mean?
You mean like those I don't know, weird little startups that are doing things totally differently. The ones that are like almost getting laughed at by the big companies, right?
Yeah, exactly. Remember, disruptive technologies, they often start in these niche markets that established companies consider too small or unprofitable. They don't even want to bother with them. They're so focused on keeping their existing customers happy, they don't want to explore new markets.
Okay, got it, got it. Look beyond the mainstream. Check. What else? What else should we have on our disruption detection radar?
Don't be fooled by the current metrics. What matters more is how a technology is improving, not necessarily how it stacks up against the big guys right now.
So like those early cell phones, right? I mean, they were bulky and unreliable, especially compared to landlines. But that technology, man, was it improving fast?
Exactly. Disruptive technologies, they often follow what's called an S-curve of development. It might be slow going at first, kind of clunky, but then the rate of improvement, it just takes off, and suddenly, boom, it's disrupting entire industries.
I love it. This is seriously making me rethink how I look at new technologies. Okay, next step in our disruption detective training. How do we separate the truly disruptive tech from the fads? The ones that are just gonna, like, fade away.
This is where it gets good. This is where Christensen's idea of value network mismatches comes in. So different industries, different groups of people, they value different things. So something that's disruptive in one place might not be in another. It all depends on the context. Let's go back to those hard drives. Mainframe computer makers, all they cared about was capacity. But for people using PCs, size and portability, those were way more important.
Okay, so it's not just about the tech itself. It's about understanding like the needs and values of the market, right?
Yeah.
A technology that's totally disruptive to one group of people might be completely irrelevant to another. It's
Yeah.
like, I don't know, trying to sell a snowblower in Hawaii.
Yeah, precisely. And here's another clue. New business models. Disruptive technologies, they often come with new ways of doing business, challenging all those old industry norms. Think about like how discount retailers, they changed everything. They disrupted department stores. Not just by offering cheaper prices, but by changing the entire shopping experience.
So we should be paying attention to the startups, the ones that are shaking things up, right?
Mm.
The ones that are like challenging the way things have always been done. They might be onto something really disruptive, even if the big players are, I don't know, rolling their
That's a
eyes.
great way to put it. Now, let's talk about what companies can do when they're faced with a potential disruptor, right? Because it's not about panicking, it's about adapting and even using that disruption to your advantage.
Well, this is where it gets really interesting because it's easy to say, oh, that new technology, that's cool. But what do you actually do about it? Especially if you're like a big company. You've got a lot invested in the old way of doing things.
Well, Christensen, he has some really insightful principles for managing disruptive technologies. One of his core arguments is that established companies, they need to give smaller opportunities to smaller organizations.
Whoa, whoa, whoa. Back up. What does that even mean? Like, are we talking about like a disruption task force or something?
Not quite. It's more about recognizing that your existing teams, the ones who are focused on serving your biggest and most profitable customers, they might not be the right people to champion a disruptive technology. They're too invested in the current way of doing things.
So you're saying don't expect your like top performers to suddenly become experts in this new untested tech.
Right. It's like asking a master chef to suddenly start flipping burgers.
Yeah, I got it. So it's about like creating a separate team, maybe even spinning off a whole new company that has the freedom to explore this tech outside of the constraints of the core business.
Exactly. It's like letting a speedboat move quickly while the giant ship, it stays on its course.
It takes all the pressure off the main business and lets this new team, really focus on the unique needs of this new market.
Exactly. And that leads to another important point, matching the size of the organization to the size of the market. Disruptive technologies, they often start in small niche markets. And it's hard for big companies to justify spending time and money and resources on something that might not seem like it's going to make a big difference.
They see it as a distraction, a
Oh.
waste of the resources, right?
Right. So Christensen, he suggests finding a way to make those smaller markets meaningful. Maybe that's by creating smaller, more agile units inside the organization or, spinning off new ventures like we were talking about.
Gotcha, gotcha. It's about adapting your approach to the opportunity, right?
Yeah.
Not trying to force a square peg into a round hole.
Yeah.
This is like blowing my mind. I'm seeing the whole business world with like new eyes.
And there's more. Here's another challenge. Markets that don't exist, well, they can't be analyzed.
Wait, what? How can a market not exist?
Mhm.
Isn't that like a paradox or something? It's like you're saying with disruptive technologies, we have to throw the rule book out the window. We can't use those old ways of predicting what people want, right?
Exactly. That's exactly it. Traditional market research, it just doesn't work when it comes to these disruptive innovations.
Yeah.
Because the market, by its very nature, it's disruptive. It's creating something totally new, something that didn't even exist before.
Okay, so how are companies supposed to navigate this? I mean,
Yes.
it's like trying to sail without a map or a compass.
Well, Christensen, he talks about taking a more experimental approach. He calls it a discovery-driven process.
Discovery-driven.
Yeah. So it's about being willing to try things out, to fail fast, and then learn from those failures. It's not about knowing all the answers right away. It's about being agile, about adapting as that market emerges.
So instead of trying to predict the future, we should be embracing that uncertainty, using it as like, I don't know, a springboard for learning and innovation, right?
That's a powerful idea, yeah. And it's super relevant today, especially with technology changing so fast. There's just so much happening, so many new possibilities popping up all the time. It's impossible to know for sure what will work and what won't.
Okay, that makes sense. This makes me think about all those, I don't know, seemingly minor tech advancements, the ones that are happening all around us right now. Could those be, I don't know, the seeds of some major disruptions down the road?
That's a great question. And it leads us to one of the most important takeaways from the innovator's dilemma. We need to stay on our toes, be curious, and always look out for those little shifts, the ones that could signal the next wave of disruption.
So we've got our disruption detective hats on. We're looking beyond the mainstream, paying attention to how technologies are improving, consider those different market needs. What else can we do? How can we, I don't know, really hone these disruptive technology spotting skills?
Be aware of your own assumptions. We all have biases, right? Based on our own experiences in the industries we know. And those biases, they can really blind us to new possibilities. So be willing to challenge your own perspective. Don't just dismiss something because it seems weird or unfamiliar or even a little silly.
It's like that saying, right? If at first an idea doesn't sound absurd, then there's no hope for it.
Exactly. We need to be open to those crazy ideas because they just might be the disruptive innovations of tomorrow.
Oh, I like that. Okay, what else?
Pay attention to what's happening on the fringes, the edges. Disruptive technologies, they often start in those niche markets that might seem small or insignificant at first.
Those little quirky companies that are doing things differently.
Yeah.
The ones that everyone's ignoring.
Exactly. They could be developing something revolutionary, even if it doesn't appeal to the masses right away.
So talk to those people. Ask them questions. Try to get a sense of what they're working on and why they're excited about it.
Yeah. Exactly. And stay informed. Read industry publications, go to conferences, follow the thought leaders on social media. You never know where you'll find that next little nugget of disruptive insight.
This has been an incredible deep dive. Thank you so much for sharing your expertise, for helping us understand not just what disruptive technology is, but how to spot it and even maybe use it to our advantage. I feel like you've given us a secret weapon.
It's been my pleasure. And hey, a huge thanks again to Teacher Ricky for suggesting this topic.
Yeah, Teacher Rookie, you rock.
And if any of you out there have other book suggestions or burning questions about innovation or anything else, drop us a note. We'd love to tackle them in a future deep dive.
Until next time, everyone, keep exploring, stay curious, and maybe, just maybe, you'll be the one to spot the next big disruption.